Hi geometry classes, this is Ms. Strickland and I'm going to be covering Unit 1 Big Ideas and EOC questions. Just the basic layout of the digital classroom courses. All of them are going to start with these notes that we have here. We're going to be covering Unit 1 through 5. So you're either going to listen to myself or Ms. Lucas go over the notes for the given unit. After you complete your notes, we'll also be completing some practice EOC questions together. The expectation is that you are filling out these notes yourself as well. So whatever we're writing down on here, you're writing on a separate sheet of paper, and this is what's going to be turned back into us for the binder checks. This is just like a note check like we normally do. So make sure that you're filling these out along with us. After you complete the notes and the practice question, you will be completing your exit ticket. For my class, I have them on Google Classroom, and I know for Ms. Lucas's class, and I assume Ms. Moreland's class as well, they have links on their Schoology accounts to their online exit tickets. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started, and let's start with rigid transformations. So we remember our rigid transformations are those types of transformations that do not change the shape or the size of the shape. So those include, number 1, reflections. Number 2, rotations. And number 3, translations. So like I said, this does not change the shape, the angles of your shape when it undergoes these transformations. So these will stay congruent. They'll be the same. And the size will also be congruent. It'll be the same. Okay. And then we only have one non-rigid transformation, and that is dilations. A dilation is when your shape is getting bigger, or it could be getting smaller. Okay? So the shapes, the angles, those stay the same, congruent. The size, it changes. It can get bigger or it could get smaller. When we're talking about our translation rules, that's when your shape is like sliding around. You can remember that with the SL right there. Your shape's going to be moving around your graph. If it was moving to the left, that would be minus x, so minus your x coordinate. If you were moving to the right, that would be plus your x coordinate. So you could be moving to the left 2, so you would do minus 2 on your x coordinate. Or if you were moving to the right and you were moving to the right 3, then you would do plus 3 to your x coordinate. And then if you're moving down, that's your y coordinate. So moving down, minus y, moving up, plus y. Moving on to our reflection rules. This is when you're like flipping over an axis or you're flipping over a line. For the x-axis, you're changing the sign on y, so it becomes x negative y. Over the y-axis, you're changing the sign on x, so minus x, leave the y alone, it stays the same. And then over the y equals x-axis, I'll draw a little picture for that. That's a positive sloped line. You switch the numbers, switch them, and then over the line y equals negative x, that's our negative sloping line that goes through the origin. You flip the numbers and you change the sign. Okay. our rotation rules, and this is counterclockwise. The default is always counterclockwise. The ones that we deal with are 90, 180, and 270. The way that I remember this, just write 90, 180, 270 down, and then go y, x, y. And then if you have a y right there, you're going to have an x. If you have an x there, it's going to be a y, y, x. So it like alternates, but it starts with y. And then say first, both, and then second. So you have a change of your sign for the first one, your y. For 180, it's both. You change the sign on both. And for 270, you change it on the second one. Okay, so those are our Unit 1 notes. And now I'm going to move on to our EOC practice questions, which are on the next page. Remember, you should be writing these notes down as well as copying these problems on a separate sheet of paper so that you're turning that in when we come back together again. So let's see if you can see this, and I'll zoom in. So for this first section, A through D, it's asking, draw the image of each figure using the given, you can't see that, hold on. Draw the image of each figure using the given transformation. So like starting right here, it says use the translation xy where x is -3 and y is +1. So that's telling us which directions to go in. So if I start here at the point J, the original point is -1 and then -2. And it says we're moving to the left 3, because that's the x direction. So 1, 2, 3, and then it's going to go up 1 in the y direction. So right here, right there, and then that's the J point. Okay. And then you're going to do the same for H and K. I'll pause right here so you can try that out yourself. Okay, so coming back together on H, you're moving to the left 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to move up 1. There's your new H coordinate. And then for K, you're again moving to the left 3, 1, 2, 3, and then up 1. And I'm labeling these points, and now you can connect your points back together. And really I should have labeled these J prime, H prime, and K prime, because this is our image. This is what happened afterwards. Okay, so this is an example of a translation. And next we have a reflection across the x-axis. So when you're reflecting across the x-axis, the rule is that you change the sign on y. So if I'm looking at point S, and I see it's -3, +1, then that means that the new coordinate would be -3, -1. I changed the sign on the y coordinate. So -3, -1, that's the new S prime. A different way that you could do this is you can count the number of boxes away from the x-axis. So R is 1, 2 boxes away from the x-axis, so you're going to go down 1, 2 from the x-axis. So that works as well. So I'll pause and let you complete the points for Q and P. Use either method. Okay, so coming back, I see that Q is 2, +2. So then it's going to become 2, -2. Right there, that's Q. And then for P, I notice right here it's actually 4, 0. Well, 0, if I change the sign on 0, you can't really do that. So the point actually stays the same right there at P. And then, so that's where your P prime is, Q prime, and connect your dots. And there we go. reflected over the x-axis. Looking down to question C, we have, well, is this positive sloping or negative sloping? This line right here. The way that I remember if it's positive or negative sloping, well, we read left to right, and if you put your pen or your pencil on that line and you go up, you're going up the hill, going up this like slant. So this is the line right here, y equals x. So we need to use the rule for y equals x. The rule for y equals x is that you are switching the numbers. So xy becomes yx. So that's the rule right there for C. And it told you reflect across the line y equals x. Okay, so I see the point R is 2 and 6. So I'm going to write that right here. R is 2, comma 6. So if you flip the numbers, R prime will become 6, 2. So let's plot that. 6, 2. And that's the new R prime. And again, I'll pause right here so you can complete Q, P, and S. And just remember that you're flipping the numbers for your new coordinate. Okay, so Q, the original point was 2 and 8. So flipping the numbers, Q prime becomes -8. Oh, I changed the sign. You shouldn't change the sign. 8 and 2. Just flip the numbers. And then, so 8 and 2 is right there. That would be Q prime. And then P, the original coordinate is -6, 8. Switch the numbers. P prime is 8, -6. 8 and then -6. And that was for P prime. And I know that this is a rectangle, and I know that the length of this rectangle is 1 box. So you already know that the coordinate for S prime is going to be right here. S prime. Connect your dots. There we go. Okay, moving on to D. You see that it says reflect across the line y equals -x. Y equals -x, the rule is your xy changes, you flip the numbers, change the sign, -y, -x. The original point for Z is on the line, so that's actually going to stay the same, I believe. Z is -2 and 2. So if you Z prime, flip the numbers and change the sign, -2 and 2, yeah, it stays the same. So that stays on the line. And then for Y, the original point is 6 and 2. So flip the numbers, change the sign on both. -2, -6. That's for Y prime. Okay, I'm gonna pause right here because the video is about to be at 15 minutes. So I'm gonna pause right here and then we'll come back together for part 2.